I think you all heard the president address this earlier today, but thanks to his leadership and the intensive diplomacy that we've been involved in, more Americans have been able to get out of Gaza today. As the president said, so far, 74 U.S. citizens and family members arrived on the Egyptian side. That's in addition to the 5 Americans who departed Gaza yesterday. And I want to stress that these numbers are changing in real time. Embassy Cairo has deployed a consular team to the Rafah crossing to support all these folks, make sure they get back to the embassy, and then we work with them on onward movement as appropriate. We obviously continue to be focused on getting as many Americans out as quickly as possible, and we still fully expect that more Americans will be able to depart, hopefully more today, but certainly we're looking for them to depart at a similar pace, if not better than what we've seen. But again, I want to stress again, it's a fluid situation. Obviously, intensive diplomacy has been underway to open up the Gaza side of the border for foreign nationals and for some wounded Palestinians as well. In times of crisis, of course, like this, we rely on our friends, and today's positive news would not have been possible without the assistance of Qatar or, frankly, the leadership of President Sisi of Egypt, who, of course, I think you know President Biden spoke to last Sunday. We're grateful for his leadership and his efforts. On the humanitarian side, yesterday, an additional 55 trucks with life-saving humanitarian assistance, including food, water, and medicine, were able to make their way into Gaza via the Rafah crossing. We're hoping that the number of trucks crossing into Gaza will continue to increase as well. We know that 55 more trucks, which brings us to more than 220 total since the 21st, is not enough. And we're going to continue to work to get more in there. Increasing that aid has been a top priority of the president and a keen focus of his diplomacy. Speaking of diplomacy, today the president's going to participate in 2 bilateral meetings. Actually, I think he's already done the one, met with President Luis Abinader of the Dominican Republic to discuss a host of shared priorities, including deepening bilateral economic ties, advancing our democratic principles and labor rights, as well as addressing the security situation in Haiti. And then later today, he's going to meet with President Gabriel Boric of Chile to discuss issues of shared concern, including promoting further economic cooperation, combating climate change, and addressing irregular migration. And of course, all of those discussions, those 2 bilateral meetings come just ahead of the inaugural America's Partnership for Economic Prosperity Leaders Summit that's here at the White House. And we're glad to have the participation of all members of the partnership here for this summit. The majority of them will be at the leader level. This Leaders Summit advances President Biden's commitment to strong regional partnership in the Western Hemisphere, as he announced during last year's Summit of the Americas. Taken as a whole, this 2-day summit represents a strong demonstration of the United States' commitment to work with our partners to take advantage of this once-in-a-generation opportunity to recenter critical global supply chains in the Americas, continue to address our shared migration challenge, and build meaningful economic opportunity across the hemisphere. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Can you tell us a little bit more about the humanitarian pause, what that would look like, what it means, how long it would be, how it would work?
Sure. I think we've talked about this before, Colleen. I mean, we're really not just talking about like one pause. What we're trying to do is explore the idea of as many pauses as might be necessary to continue to get aid out and to continue to work to get people out safely, including hostages. The president already worked on one such pause when we were able to get those 2 Americans out, and that's what we're kind of looking at. And just to remind, when we're talking about humanitarian pause, what we're talking about are temporary, localized pauses in the fighting to meet a certain goal or goals. As I said, get aid in, get people out.
And is that something that can happen immediately? I mean, where is the Israeli Prime Minister on this? Is he willing to continue to do this, especially if it's more than one pause?
Well, we were able to work with him to help get Americans out before, so we're certainly hoping that kind of cooperation will continue. But each instance of it, each effort to get a pause is going to be unique in its own way, and it's going to require negotiation and diplomacy. And the president, you heard him talk about this yesterday, is 100% committed to doing what it takes to pursue that kind of diplomacy.